I, Gu Beichun, spent 10 years becoming a domineering CEO and married the campus belle of my university, Shun Chinga. The price was filling the $500 million bankruptcy hole for her family. Until I came home early and caught her dragging our daughter by the hair, slamming her against the wall. "You little bitch, you're my godson's way." Her white moonlight lover was sitting on the sofa, hugging his fat son and commenting, "Not enough force. Haven't you eaten?" With one slap, I sent the white moonlight's wig flying, revealing his bald head. A second slap sent Shun Chinga spinning in place. If one hair on my daughter's head is missing, one bone in your Shun family will be broken. When I saw a happy picture of the three of them in bed on my social media feed, I immediately cut off all of the Shun family's funding. Shun Chinga bombarded me with calls. "I just touched your daughter. Do you have to cut off my family's lifeline?" "I do." I snap her black card in half with a click. "You touched my last nerve." Later, she tearfully begged me to remarry her. I threw out a complete file of her white moonlight's domestic violence and gambling habits. A prison cell for a married couple. It's reserved for your honeymoon. My name is Gu Beichun. Although the name sounds like a domineering CEO in a romance novel who wouldn't last more than 3 chapters, I am indeed a domineering CEO, the real deal, fresh off the Huron Rich list. My story of success? It's quite cliché. I started by selling socks from a street stall in college. I beat all my competitors, climbing over the corpses of countless counterfeit socks. In 10 years, I managed to turn the Goose Kick brand of cotton socks into the listed company, Beichun Group. Now, who doesn't respectfully call me Chairman Gu? Except, of course, for Shun Chinga. Shun Chinga, the belle of my university days, the eldest daughter of the Shun Group. Back then, I would ride my tricycle to deliver promotional socks to her dormitory. She, in her limited edition high heels, wouldn't even glance at me, only whispering sweetly into her phone. "Chen Lang, it must be past midnight where you are, right? Get some rest. Don't overtire yourself." That voice, so sweet it could kill a truckload of ants. Chen Lang, her white moonlight, the thorn in my side. A good-for-nothing who relied on his family's money to get a gilded education abroad. He flew to America right after graduation and, it said, quickly married the daughter of some wealthy Chinese-American businessman, leaving Shun Chinga, his devoted admirer, waiting on this side of the Pacific. How the tables have turned. Who would have thought that 10 years later, the luxurious ship of the Shun family would hit an iceberg on the verge of sinking without a trace? Old Mr. Shun, leaning on his cane, came to my office, trembling, with tears streaming down his face. "Beichun for Chinga's sake." I sat in my boss's chair, spinning a pen, looking out the floor-to-ceiling window at the business empire that belonged to me. TSK, for Shun Chinga's sake? Did she ever do anything for my sake back then? But I'm a businessman, focused on maximizing profits. Marrying Shun Chinga not only got me the goddess I once yearned for, but also allowed me to swallow the remaining channels and meager connections of the Shin family, while also earning a reputation in the circle for being loyal and righteous. This was a deal with no downside. So, with a wave of my hand, the $500 million hole was filled. The condition was that Shun Chinga would marry me. At the wedding, Shun Chinga wore Vera Wang, as beautiful as a porcelain doll, but her smile was a bit stiff, her eyes a bit empty. She didn't look at me directly throughout the entire ceremony. When the officiant asked, "Do you?" she waited a full 3 seconds before squeezing out a yes as quiet as a mosquito's buzz. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought I had forced her into it at knife point. Fine, a porcelain doll is a porcelain doll. It's good enough to be a pretty decoration at home. After the marriage, I invested money and effort, and the broken ship of the Shun family was patched up and able to creak forward again. In fact, being towed by my aircraft carrier, its speed was not slow. We also have a daughter, Gu Weiwei, 5 years old. The little girl looks like me, with big, blinking eyes. She's just timid. Whenever she sees Shun Chinga, she's like a mouse seeing a cat, shrinking her neck and not daring to make a sound. I used to think she was just introverted, and that Shun Chinga, with her spoiled princess attitude, didn't know how to coax a child. Thinking about it now, I was so damn blind. My eyesight was worse than the stone lions at my front gate. That day, I had an extremely important international merger and acquisition video conference with a difficult old Jewish man. Just as it began, my assistant Lin Xiao Xiao rushed in, her face as white as if it had been plastered. Chairman Gu, Wei Wei. Wei Wei's kindergarten teacher called. She said the child's emotions are very unstable. She's been crying nonstop and won't let anyone touch her. She asked if something happened at home. My heart skipped a beat. Although Wei Wei was timid, she had never lost control at kindergarten before. An indescribable restlessness surged up, as if an invisible hand was squeezing my heart. To hell with the old Jewish man. To hell with the $10 billion merger. Cancel the meeting. I snatched the car keys and bolted. I drove the Rolls-Royce Phantom with the same ferocity I had when I used to sell socks. A trail of sparks and lightning in my wake as I sped back to my mansion. Dragon Bay No. 1. Nestled halfway up the mountain, a place rumored to have excellent feng shui. The moment I pushed open the bulletproof, ornately carved gate, the sharp wail of a child pierced my eardrums, making my brain throb with pain. Wah, Mommy, I won't do it again. Vivi won't do it again. Following that was Shun Chinga's shriek, pitched 8 octaves higher, sharp enough to shatter glass. Won't do it again. You little bastard. Just like your nouveau riche father. A worthless gut snipe. How dare you get in the way? How dare you be so blind? You dare to touch How's Legos? Is it something you're worthy of touching? Thud. A dull thud like something hard hitting a wall. All the blood in my body rushed to my head in an instant, and my vision turned blood red. The string in my mind called reason snapped with a twang, shattering into a million pieces. I rushed through the foyer in a few strides, and the scene before me almost gave me a fatal heart attack on the spot. On the hand-woven wool carpet I had spent a fortune to air freight from Italy, my precious daughter, Vivi, was being held like a rag doll by Shun Chinga, who had a death grip on the pathetic tuft of hair at the back of her head, lifting her entire body so her toes were off the ground. Shun Chinga, my wife, who in public was so elegant and proper, she looked like she measured her steps with a ruler, now had a twisted face, her features contorted, looking exactly like a yiksha demon crawled out of hell. She was grabbing Vivi's head, and once, and again, slamming it viciously against the expensive gold leaf wallpaper. Thud, thud. Every impact felt like it was hitting my own heart. Nearby, on the 6-figure sofa I had bought, sat 2 people. One was a man, greasy-faced and effeminate, wearing a tight, flashy pink polo shirt, trying hard to project an elite air, but his protruding belly strained the fabric, making him look like a pink balloon about to explode. It was none other than Shun Chinga's white moonlight, the one who had gone abroad to get his golden polish, Chun Lang. In his arms was a chubby boy of 7 or 8, with a fat head and big ears, his small eyes narrowed into slits, a greasy, gloating expression on his face that mirrored his father's. This little fatty was the so-called precious godson Shun Chinga always talked about, Chun Hao. Chun Lang casually swirled a glass of red wine in one hand. It was my damn treasured Romani Connie. With his other hand, he gently patted his fat son's back, slowly offering his commentary, his voice dripping with a nauseating sense of superiority. Chinga, you're being too soft. With this kind of unruly brat, you have to teach her a lesson she'll never forget all at once. What you're doing is like tickling her. It's not enough. After speaking, he took a contented sip of wine. The little fatty, Chun Hao, immediately clapped his chubby hands and giggled. That's right, that's right. I casually tossed the expensive wig onto the plush carpet as if it were trash, my gaze like an ice pick, instantly fixing on Shun Chinga's face, who was still clutching my daughter's hair. She trembled, startled by the undisguised, violent killing intent in my eyes, and her hand gripping Vivi's hair loosened instinctively. A perfect chance, I gathered my strength in my right hand, channeling 10 years of pent-up frustration, rage, and the shame of being played for a fool into a single slap. My arms swung in a full arc, carrying the force of a thunderbolt. Crack! A crisp, resounding slap, its echo lingering in the air, landed solidly on Shun Chinga's well-maintained, now horror-stricken, pretty face. The force was so immense it sent her into a 720-degree spin on the spot. A spinning top couldn't have been more standard. The limited edition Jimmy Choo stilettos on her feet snapped with a crack, dying a heroic death. Like a kite, with a broken string. She crashed spectacularly into the mahogany shelf, displaying a Qing Dynasty official kiln vase. Crash! Clang! The shelf toppled, the vase shattered, and the fragments, along with the shelf, embraced Shun Qingge intimately. She lay in a disheveled heap amidst the splinters of wood and porcelain, her meticulously styled hair undone. Half of her face swelled at a visible rate into a puffy steamed bun, a bright red five-fingered handprint clearly marking the scene. Clutching her face, she looked up, her eyes like poisoned daggers, yet filled more with incredulous shock. Shun, Qing, Yi. Each word was like an ice chip squeeze from between my teeth, radiating a bone-chilling cold. You'd better fucking listen to me. My Gu Beichen's daughter, Gu Vivi, if even a single hair on her head is missing. I knelt down, scooped up Vivi, who was huddled in the corner, trembling, her face pale, a bluish-purple bruise on her forehead, and her face a mess of tears and snot, and held her tightly in my arms. The little one, like a terrified quail, clung desperately to my shirt front, her small body shaking like a leaf in the wind. Cradling my daughter as if she were a long-lost, priceless treasure, my icy gaze swept over Shun Qingge on the floor, over Chen Lang, who was clutching his bald spot with a look of horror and shame, and over the stunned little fatty, Chen Hao. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried a decisive power that chilled to the bone. Your Shen family will give me a broken bone for it, and I mean what I say. The moment the words left my lips, I pressed the emergency call button in the inner pocket of my suit. In less than 5 seconds, 3 bodyguards in black suits and sunglasses, all over 6 feet tall, with muscles bulging so much they threatened to burst their suits, appeared like phantoms at the living room entrance. It was my most capable trio, a Long, a Hu, and a Biao. Their eyes, sharp as eagles, scanned the chaotic scene. When they saw Vivi in my arms, her forehead bruised and sobbing uncontrollably, their expressions instantly darkened to a thunderous black. Chairman Gu! They chimed in unison, their voices low and powerful. Holding Vivi, I jutted my chin towards the 3 pieces of trash on the floor. There, that pile of non-recyclable garbage on the floor, and that little fatty with the exposed light bulb. I made a point to gesture at Chen Lang, who was still covering his head, wishing the earth would swallow him whole. They're polluting the environment, an absolute eyesore. Clear them out for me, with the utmost speed and thoroughness. From now on, without my permission, don't even let a cockroach in. Understood. Along replied, his gaze cold. Without another word, a Hu and a Biao strode forward. What are you doing? Let go of me. Gu Beichen, how dare you? This is my house. Shun Qingge screamed and struggled as a Hu lifted her from the pile of debris like a chick, showing no mercy. My wig, give back. Don't touch me. My image. Chen Lang clutched his head, trying to retrieve the wig from the carpet, but a Biao pinned it with his foot and then dragged him out by the arm like a dead dog. Wah! Daddy! Mommy! Help! The bad guys are hitting people. The little fatty Chun Hao wailed like a pig being slaughtered, tucked under a Long's arm, his 2 chubby legs kicking wildly in the air. The mix of screams, curses, the wig's silent lament, and the little fatty's dry howls filled the air. The 3 bodyguards remained expressionless, their movements swift, as if disposing of large-scale hazardous waste. They dragged and hauled the sources of noise out of my front door without a hint of hesitation. Bang! A loud thud from the heavy, bulletproof door shut out the cacophony from outside. Finally, the world was quiet. Holding Vivi, who was still trembling in my arms, I felt my heart was about to shatter. The momentary satisfaction from the slap and the wig pulling was instantly replaced by boundless fury and lingering fear. This was definitely not the first time the new and old bruises on Weiwei's arms flashed through my mind like lightning. I was a fucking colossal idiot, blinded by Shun Qingge's meek and gentle facade. Weiwei, be good. Don't be scared anymore. Daddy's back. Daddy has chased all the bad people away. I held her, my voice unprecedentedly gentle, as if afraid to disturb a fragile dream, and shuffled step by step back to her princess room, which was filled with stuffed toys. I placed her on the soft little bed. Her small hand still clung tightly to the corner of my clothes, her big eyes filled with terrified tears. Her long eyelashes were clumped together, wet, like the wings of a butterfly drenched by rain. "Daddy, it hurts." She pouted her little lips, pointing at her red, swollen forehead with a look of utter grievance. Her voice, thick with the verge of tears, was as faint as a mosquito's buzz. That single word, "hurts," was like a red-hot knife stabbing viciously into my heart and fucking twisting twice. My nose stung, and I almost lost my composure. There. Daddy will blow on it for Weiwei. It won't hurt after Daddy blows on it." I leaned down, carefully blowing on the wound on her forehead, and with the utmost gentleness, I used my fingertips to brush away the teardrops on her face. The little girl's tense body gradually softened under my clumsy comfort. The fear in her big eyes slowly receded, leaving only deep grievance and reliance. After I called my private doctor, after a long ordeal, the little princess finally cried herself to sleep, sobbing intermittently in my arms. Even in her sleep, she would jolt in terror from time to time. I gently laid her down, tucked her in with the air conditioning quilt printed with little strawberries, and planted a soft kiss on her smooth forehead. Straightening up, I looked at my daughter's tear-stained face in her sleep. The rage I had forcibly suppressed erupted like a dormant volcano, lava surging straight to the top of my head. My daughter, the precious jewel Gu Beichun, held in my palm, afraid she'd fall, and held in my mouth, afraid she'd melt. In my own house, by that woman who ate my food, drank my wine, and lived off me, and that bald idiot and his fat son. They bullied her, and the most fucking outrageous part, the house was full of maids and nannies. Are they all fucking dead? Deaf or blind? My face darkened. I strode out of the princess room, pulled out my phone, and directly dialed the butler, old Zhao. My voice was as cold as the Siberian wind. "Everyone, assemble in the living room in 3 minutes. If you're 1 second late, pack your bags and get lost." In less than 2 minutes, the mess in the huge living room hadn't even been cleaned up, led by the butler, old Zhao, the cook, cleaning ladies, gardener, driver. More than a dozen servants stood neatly in 2 rows. Every one of them had their head bowed, not daring to breathe loudly. The atmosphere was so heavy you could wring water from it. I slowly paced in front of them, my gaze like a searchlight, sweeping over their tense and uneasy faces one by one. No one dared to meet my eyes. What happened in this house just now wasn't exactly quiet, was it? I spoke, my voice not loud, but it landed on everyone's heart with an invisible pressure. A dead silence. Only a few of the more timid maids began to tremble slightly. The young miss was crying so miserably. You didn't hear her? I paused, pointing a finger at them casually. The air grew even quieter. Fine beads of sweat appeared on Butler Zhao's forehead. Or perhaps, I raised my voice slightly, laced with the danger of an impending storm. You think the young miss deserved to be hit, or that it's perfectly natural for the madam to discipline her daughter, and that it's none of my business as the father. Thump, a young nanny's psychological defenses completely crumbled. Her legs gave way, and she knelt directly on the floor, her voice choked with sobs. "Mr. Gu, we didn't dare to say anything. The madam, she what?" I pressed, my gaze sharp as a knife. "The madam said if anyone dared to tell on her to you, she would make it so our entire families couldn't survive in Jiangchen." Another gardener stammered. I laughed, but it was a laugh of pure anger. What a show of power, using my money, living in my house, ordering my people around, and she even dared to threaten my people to keep their mouths shut. Couldn't survive? Fine. I took out my phone and dialed my all-purpose special assistant, Lin Xiao. The call connected instantly. Xiao. My voice returned to its usual calmness, but it carried a deeper chill. Right now, immediately, list all the servants on duty at Dragon Bay No. 1 today. Detail their failure to report, their dereliction of duty, their disloyalty to their employer. Write all down for me, clearly. A cruel arc formed on my lips. Then send it to the emails, WeChat groups, and moments of all the high-end domestic help agencies, property management companies, and the HR circles of the wealthy in Jiangchen. I want every member of Jiangxing's high society to know what kind of loyal servants I, Gu Beichun, have been keeping in my house. On the other end of the line, Lin Xiaoxiao was crisp and efficient. Understood, Chairman Gu. I guarantee they'll be famous throughout Jiangxing within 10 minutes. I hung up and turned my gaze back to the group of servants before me, their faces ashen, trembling like leaves in the wind. Now all of you get out. Immediately. Right now. Pack your things and disappear from my house. Your salary? Heh, go ask your good madam for it. She's so capable. I'm sure she won't be short of the money to pay you. I waved my hand as if shooing away a swarm of annoying flies. As if they had heard a declaration of amnesty, the group scrambled and crawled away, scattering like frightened birds and beasts, terrified that if they were a second too slow, I would go back on my word and swallow them alive. In an instant, the vast living room was empty, leaving only me and the utter mess. Very good, the trash has been cleared out. But this wasn't over. I sat down on the only surviving armchair and took out my phone. The moment I unlocked it, a bright red notification popped up on my WeChat Moments from Shun Xinge. This woman, I had just slapped her and thrown her out of the house, and she still had the mood to post on Moments? I sneered and tapped it open. A photo jumped into view. The background was the luxurious king-sized bed of a 5-star hotel room. In the center of the photo, Shun Xinge's face was turned to the side. The swollen red handprint on her cheek was barely concealed by a thick layer of foundation and powerful beauty filters. She was nestled with a blissful expression on the shoulder of a man whose face was covered by a cartoon panda head sticker. The man was also holding that little fatty, who was similarly censored with a panda mosaic. The accompanying text was practically overflowing with bitchiness and green tea vibes. Only after surviving a disaster do you realize what is most precious. True happiness is being with the most important people, through thick and thin, for a life of peace and quiet. Grateful for everything, cherishing the present, heart. I almost laughed up last night's dinner. What the hell surviving a disaster? What the hell through thick and thin? And a life of peace and quiet? Was it the peace and quiet of face-planting on the pavement when my bodyguards threw you out the gate? With this kind of mental fortitude and this thickness of skin, it's a real way she's not competing for an Oscar for Best Actress. Grateful for everything? The thing she should be most grateful for is my 500 million. Looking at Shun Xinge's pretentious, I have it all, blissful look in the photo, and then thinking of the wound on my daughter's forehead and her terrified eyes, a wicked fire surged up inside me again. Fine, you want a life of peace and quiet, right? I'll give you peace and quiet until the end of time. My fingers flew across the screen as I replied directly under her post. Nice picture. The hotel pillows look very white. Wishing the three of you eternal happiness. I've locked you together and swallowed the key. P.S. For your peaceful and quiet life, remember to bring enough money. After sending it, I felt refreshed, imagining the look on Shun Xinge and Chun Lang's faces when they saw this reply, like they'd just swallowed a fly, especially Chun Lang's bald spot. TSK, I could wake up laughing for my dreams tonight. But this was just the appetizer's appetizer. The real gift package was only now beginning to be delivered. I called Lin Xiaoxiao again, my voice calm and steady, yet carrying an undeniable, decisive killing intent. Xiaoxiao, two things. First, immediately, right now, freeze all of Shun Xinge's bank cards, credit cards, and supplementary cards, including all her linked electronic payment accounts. Remove her from the VIP lists of all companies associated with the Beichun Group. Her cars, jewelry bags, everything bought with my Gu Beichun's money, make a list for me. Prepare to reclaim it all. Second, I paused, a demonic smile playing on my lips. Notify the finance and project departments to immediately halt all capital injections, project collaborations, and channel support for the Shun Group. Block all ongoing procedures. As for the money that has already been invested, initiate recovery proceedings. I want that patched up, broken ship of the Shuns to sink back down faster than free fall. Sink it deeper than the Mariana Trench. On the other end, Lin Xiaoxiao's voice carried a hint of suppressed excitement. Received, Chairman Gu. Mission guaranteed. The severed capital chain package will be arranged for Miss Shun and her family immediately and clearly. After hanging up, I walked to the massive floor-to-ceiling window and looked down at the brilliant night view of Jiangxing below. The flashing neon lights seemed to be warming up for the good show that was about to begin. Shun Xingge, your life of peace and quiet. I'm going to smash it to pieces with my own hands. A faint remnant of Shun Xingge's expensive, spilled perfume still lingered in the living room. I had just put my phone back in my pocket, about to go to the kitchen to see if there was an ice pack for Wei Wei's little forehead, when that custom-made, diamond-encrusted phone, bright enough to blind a dog, began to vibrate like crazy. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 3 large words flashed on the screen. Shun Xingge. Getting the cutoff notice so soon. Quite efficient, Special Assistant Lin. I sauntered slowly to the floor-to-ceiling window, admiring the empire I'd built outside. Oh no, the mid-level's night view I had bought, letting the phone dance on a coffee table. It rang a good dozen times. Feeling like it would self-destruct if I ignored it any longer, I condescended to slide the answer key and conveniently press speakerphone. Goo. Bye. Shun. Shun Xingge's shriek, so sharp it cracked, exploded instantly, with a penetrating power comparable to an air raid siren, making my eardrums buzz. Are you insane? What give you the right to cancel my cards? What give you the right to cut off my family's projects? Are you sick in head? I cleaned out my ear, my tone as placid as if discussing the weather. Well now, Miss Shun, such a temper? Weren't you just done being all serene and peaceful? Not going to rest your spirit? Cut the sarcastic crap. She was clearly driven mad with anger, completely losing her usual poised demeanor. Didn't I just touch your daughter? What's wrong with teaching an ignorant child a lesson? Is it necessary to cut off my family's livelihood for that? Gu Beichun, are you even a man? Your mind is smaller than the tip of a needle. I almost laughed out loud. Touch. Shun Xingge, do you take me for a blind man or an idiot? The lump on my daughter's forehead came from a touch. The bruises on her arm came from a touch. Or do you think that my daughter, Gu Beichun's daughter, is something you can just touch whenever you please? I paused, my voice suddenly dropping to freezing point, each word laced with shards of ice. As for your livelihood? The Shun family's livelihood. Who gave it to you? It was me. Gu. Bye. Shun, I fucking gave you too much face. Made you think my daughter's head was a stepping stone for you to suck up to that bald-headed idiot and his fat son. Heavy panting came from the other end of the line. She was clearly hit right in a sore spot by my bald-headed idiot, too enraged to speak. I pressed my advantage, my tone as casual as if I were clipping my nails. Oh, right. I forgot to inform you. All of your cards, including the backup card you hid in that pair of red sky-high heels on the 3rd shelf of the shoe cabinet on the left side, and that secret slush fund account you secretly opened with your mom's ID, have all been frozen. From today onwards, Miss Shun, you can figure out how to be serene and peaceful all by yourself. You. Shun Xingge's voice began to tremble with incredulous panic. Gu Beichun, you bastard. You'll die a horrible death. I want a divorce. Divorce? I raised an eyebrow, finally hearing what I wanted to hear. Great. Couldn't ask for more. Suits me perfectly. Just you wait. My Gold Star legal team will be at your door with the divorce papers to help you be serene and peaceful. I guarantee they'll make you sign it in a way that's as through thick and thin and unforgettable as a brand on your soul. Shun Xingge wanted to curse more, but I couldn't be bothered to listen. I cut the call directly and blocked her number for good measure. The world was quiet once again. The next few days were like hitting fast forward at 8x speed. Lin Xiaoxiao's efficiency was astounding. The divorce papers were slammed in Shun Xingge's face the very next day, accompanied by a detailed list of all the resources the Shun Group had eaten, taken, blocked, and demanded from Beichun over the years. The long string of zeros after the total amount was enough that the entire Shun family could spend 10 lifetimes busking on a pedestrian bridge and still not pay it off. The Shun family's capital chain? It wasn't just broken. It had evaporated in a thin air without a single trace left. Old Master Shun called me 18 times in one day, his tone shifting from pained and bitter to tearful to furious. Finally, it turned into desperate pleading. Beichun. For Wei Wei's sake. Xingge was just confused. On my end of the line, I slowly sipped my coffee. Old Master Shun, whether she was confused or not, the court will decide. You should ask your dear daughter if she ever thought of Wei Wei when she was treating that bald light bulb and his son like treasures. After saying that, I hung up directly. Another one added to the block list. Shun Qingge's life? It was what you'd call eventful. The fall from the clouds into the mud is a bitter taste. Without my black card, the Shun family couldn't even protect themselves, let alone give her a single dime. That most important person of hers, Chun Lang, and her real son, Chun Hao, were kicked out of their five-star hotel by the exorbitant room fees after less than 2 days. Hard to go from extravagance to frugality? You need to have frugality to go to in the first place. Soon, Lin Xiaoxiao packaged up all of Chun Lang's glorious deed from his time gilding himself abroad and sent it to my email. I opened it and took a look. Whoa, holy cow. This wasn't a resume. It was a highlights reel for a true crime documentary. Gambling debts to loan sharks that had him chased all over town? Check. Domestic violence against his ex-wife, causing her to miscarry? Check. Public disturbances from alcoholism, leading to multiple stints in the police station? Check. Credit card fraud? Check. Even a suspected history of drug use? All 5 poisons. This is the fucking 10 poisons. The scum of all scum, the fighter jet of all trash. Was Shun Qingge blind with titanium alloy dog eyes back then? To treat this thing as her white moonlight? I think it's more like idiot light. I anonymously sent this surprise gift package to several gossip media outlets that thrive on chaos. Soon, the bloody drama of Shun family's daughter obsessed with scum white moonlight, abandoning husband and daughter to let the wolf into the house, exploded across Jiangxing's headlines. The Shun family's face was completely thrown into the Pacific Ocean. As for Shun Qingge herself, according to the private investigator's report, she took Chun Lang and his son, along with the last bit of her jewelry, and rented a shabby old apartment in an urban village. The former Miss Shun began to argue with the landlady over a few dozen yuan for water and electricity bills. And her true love, Chun Lang, after discovering that he really couldn't squeeze another drop of oil from her, revealed his true nature. Drinking, cursing, throwing things, and even started hitting her. That little fatty Chun Hao followed his example, ordering her around, punching and kicking her whenever he was slightly displeased, a little devil incarnate. Years of peace and quiet turned into chickens flying and dogs jumping, living in deep water and scorching fire. Just as I was busy integrating and annexing the remaining assets of the Shun family. And by the way, looking for the best child psychologist for Wei Wei, a strange number sent me a multimedia message. I opened it. A high-definition photo. The background was a dilapidated and dark warehouse. 2 people were lying on the ground, bruised and swollen, covered in blood, like 2 dead dogs with their tendons pulled out. It was Chun Lang and his fat son Chun Hao. Standing next to them was a woman with disheveled hair and tattered clothes, holding a baseball bat stained with dark red marks in her hand. Her eyes were empty, her expression numb, like a puppet whose soul had been drained. Shun Qingge. There was also a line of text below the photo. Gu Beichun, are you satisfied? Satisfied? I looked at the inhuman and ghost-like appearance of Shun Qingge in the photo, and then at the 2 dead dogs next to her. My heart was calm, and I even felt a little like laughing. Can't take it anymore. The suffering my daughter endured, this is just the beginning. I replied slowly and methodically. The police number is 110. Do you need me to dial it for you? After sending it, I immediately picked up another phone and dialed my private lawyer. Lawyer Wong, call the police. I'll send you the address right away. A warehouse brawl. Someone is seriously injured. By the way, sue Shun Qingge for intentional injury. Make the evidence chain solid for me. I want her to have a few more years of peace and quiet inside. Then I dialed Lin Xiaoxiao again. I've sent you the warehouse address. Let our media friends pass by. I've even thought of the headline for them. Infatuated woman goes crazy for love, furiously beats scum man and his son. Is that explosive enough? After doing all this, I leaned back in my chair and let out a long sigh of relief. Looking at the bright sunshine outside the window, I felt that the air was much fresher. Shun Qingge went in as she wished. Intentional injury. The evidence was conclusive. The circumstances were serious. Sentenced to 5 years. As for Chun Lang's broken leg, TSK, the weather is unpredictable, and people have misfortunes overnight. Who knew that he would get drunk and go crazy and crawl under the wheels of a speeding dump truck himself? The driver brother reacted quickly enough and only ran over one of his legs. It was truly a blessing for Bodhisattva. As for where the dump truck came from, you don't need to worry about that. I even kindly paid for his medical expenses. How could that have anything to do with me? After all, I am a law-abiding good citizen, acting bravely for a just cause, helping the injured. His son, Chun Hao at school. His days were also quite fulfilling. Somehow, the glorious deeds of his father Chun Lang spread throughout the campus. Domestic violence, gambling, living off a woman, and his Mediterranean pattern baldness became the laughingstock of the entire school. School bullying? That doesn't exist. The classmates were just enthusiastically helping him to recognize reality and experience the sinister nature of society in advance. I heard that the little fatty now walks clinging to the wall and trembles when he sees a crowd. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. The day Shan Qingge was released from prison, the weather was gloomy with a light drizzle. I sat in an inconspicuous black car across the street, the windows tinted with dark film. The heavy iron gate of the prison opened with a clang. A thin, haggard woman in faded old clothes walked out. 5 years of prison life had completely worn away the last trace of the young lady in her, leaving only numbness and vicissitudes. She stood blankly at the door, looking at the unfamiliar street with empty eyes. Just then, a man with a crutch, gray and sparse hair, and cloudy and crazy eyes, suddenly rushed out from behind a dilapidated van nearby. It was Chun Lang. His only remaining good leg supported his body. The other empty trouser leg swayed in the wind. His face was a mixture of pain, hatred, and a madness that was close to liberation. In his hand, he was holding a rusty but gleaming fruit knife. Shan Qingge, you bitch! It's all your fault. You ruined me. You ruined my son. Go to hell. Chun Lang let out a beast-like roar, and using every ounce of his strength, he dragged his crippled leg and lunged at Shan Qingge in a posture that was both grotesquely twisted and exceptionally swift. Shan Qingge didn't even have time to react, her eyes merely widening in terror. Squish, squish, squish. 3 stabs, each one to the chest. Fast, vicious, and precise. Blood instantly gushed out, dyeing her faded, worn-out clothes red and splashing all over Chun Lang's face. Shan Qingge's body stiffened abruptly, the terror in her eyes instantly replaced by immense pain and disbelief. She opened her mouth, as if wanting to say something, but only thick gurgles of blood emerged. She looked down at her own chest, blood streaming from the wounds, then up at Chun Lang's crazed, distorted face. The expression in her eyes was too complex to describe, until finally, all that remained was an endless void and the stillness of death. Like a severed wooden stump, she fell straight backward, thudding onto the cold, damp concrete floor. Leaning on his crutch, Chun Lang stood by the pool of blood, panting heavily. His face was spattered with blood, the madness in his eyes receding, leaving only a blank confusion and a kind of drained stupor. He looked down at his own blood-soaked hands, then at Shan Qingge, who was now lifeless on the ground, as if he couldn't comprehend what he had just done. I calmly picked up my phone and dialed the familiar number. Hello, 110. Someone has committed murder at the entrance of the West Suburban Prison. The killer is still at the scene. The victim is gone. Yes, the address is. After hanging up, I took one last look at that glaring patch of red and started the car. The windshield wipers gently cleared away the rain, and my vision became clear again. So I wonder who told Chun Lang the time and place of Shan Qingge's release. So hard to guess. Time to pick up Wei Wei from school. I promised to take her to the new amusement park today to ride the biggest carousel. As for Chun Lang's son, the law will give him the care he deserves. When he comes of age, I will kindly arrange for a father-son reunion. After all, the most important thing for a family is to be whole, to be together. The car merged into the stream of traffic, driving toward a future filled with laughter and joy. In the rearview mirror, that pool of blood and all the filth rapidly receded and finally disappeared